Hello, and welcome to Mind Cave. In today's video, we'll be going over 2 lighthouse tragedies that occurred on the Great Lakes. As there are some sensitive topics discussed in this video, viewer discretion is advised. Our first story begins at Sandpoint Lighthouse, which is located in Escanaba on the far western side of Lake Michigan. The story features one of Michigan's most illustrious female lighthouse keepers, Mary Terry. Escanaba officially became a Michigan city in 1862, and pretty quickly industry started booming, especially lumber and fishing. The waterway started getting quite busy, which led to Congress appropriating $5,000 for a lighthouse be built at Escanaba's Sand Point. After some setbacks dealing with landowners, Congress allocated an additional $9,000, and in 1867, they were finally able to break ground on the project. The lighthouse features a cast iron lantern room with a 4th order Fresnel lens that used a fixed red signal that was popular on Michigan's Great Lakes. Intriguingly, Sandpoint Lighthouse was actually built 180 degrees the wrong way, with the lighthouse room sitting closer to the town on the west instead of Little Bay Knock to the east, where it should have been. It makes you wonder how far along they were when they realized the error. John Terry was born August 6, 1818, on the eastern side of Canada, and he wed Mary L. Thurston on February 21, 1845. In June 1863, the Peninsula Division of the Chicago and North Railway built a rail line between Escanaba and Negaunee, and John was hired as a surveyor. He and Mary decided to move to the Upper Peninsula. They had been married for just over 24 years and had no children. In 1867, John was appointed the keeper of Sandpoint Lighthouse. He was to be given a salary of $540. Since the project finished in the winter, the light was not to be illuminated until the following spring. Unfortunately, John would never get to see the light be lit as he died April 8, 1868, at the age of 49 to tuberculosis. Today he rests at the Lakeview Cemetery on 3rd Avenue South in Escanaba. John's widow Mary expressed interest in taking over the position, and despite strong opposition from Washington, D.C., her application was so strongly endorsed that the inspectors had to agree. When she took over her position as head keeper, she was among just a handful of women who have ever served in this position. The light became operational on April 18, 1868, and Mary was able to receive the full $540 salary her husband had been appointed, which is surprising considering we are talking about a 19th century government job. Most lighthouse keepers employ an assistant keeper, which is what Mary would have been had her husband survived. However, Mary never did enlist the help of an assistant. Mary herself, day after day, month after month for years, assiduously carried out her duties as keeper, and she grew quite attached to the job. Over her 18 years of service, she was able to accrue $10,000 of income. Mary would agree that this was a dream job, but unfortunately, not all dreams can last forever. At some point overnight on March 5, 1886, there was a fire at Sandpoint Lighthouse. The lighthouse was destroyed and took Mary with it. Whether this was a simple accident or foul play, only Mary herself would know. It could have been a furnace fire that broke out. However, it was known that Mary was a woman of means and lived alone. This could have been motivation for a robber to break in and take the money, murder Terry, and light the fire to cover up their crime. One notable reason that does point to foul play is that Mary was very systematic about her duties and took excellent care of the lighthouse, so some say a faulty furnace would have been caught by her before it became an issue. Also, it was noted that the lighthouse's south door had its bolt shot forward as if the door had been forced, although Mary's fortune of $4,000 in gold coins was left behind. So if it was foul play, the perpetrators did not find what they were after. Let me know in the comments if you think there was foul play involved here, or if it was just an unfortunate natural fire. Pilot Island Lighthouse is located in Door County, Wisconsin, situated on a tiny island and surrounded by 34 other islands, most of which are not accessible. There are over 300 miles of rocky shoreline located here, and a dozen other lighthouses. In fact, the first lighthouse at Ports des Morts translates to Door of the Dead. However, this lighthouse is no longer operational. Pilot Island was selected in 1858 as the location for the newest beacon. dozens of men served at the Pilot Island Lighthouse over the years. Pilot Island being quite unique, as the weather was particularly dreadful in the area, and with many shoals and sandbars in the area, it was a sailor's nightmare. This brings us to 1871, when John Boyce, named after his father, was living in the town of Goderich, Canada, and was 20 years old at the time. He worked there as a cooper, which is someone that builds barrels that were used for shipping fish and other goods in the area. After a few years, John decided to immigrate to America. He crossed both Lake Huron and Lake Michigan and landed in Door County, Wisconsin. It wasn't long before the locals considered him a Pilot Islander. He registered as a pound net fisherman, and John settled in well. He was mentioned to be active in many community events, and many referred to him as Brother Boyce. In addition to his fishing, he also kept rabbits. John proved himself to be quite resilient in being able to weather the winter storms of northeastern Wisconsin and the dangerous shoreline of one of the largest freshwater lakes in the world. John became quite well known for being able to sail throughout the dangerous region and to nearby Washington Island. This skill and resiliency were perfect attributes for him to become an assistant lighthouse keeper at Pilot Island. One of John's key duties would have been to prepare the lighthouse for the winter season when traffic slows considerably on Lake Michigan due to the ice buildup. A lot of this work was done by himself, alone on an island for long periods of time. This would eventually prove to have negative, consequential effects on his mental health. The only other living souls on this island were his rabbits that he cared for so much. It was noted that John seemed to be strangely sensitive to the phases of the moon, with his mood and behavior changing drastically throughout the cycles. Sometimes, he would take the only boat available to them at the island and head off to Escanaba unannounced, and he would stay there for 2 weeks at a time sometimes. It seems that John never really took to his position at the lighthouse very well. On July 1st, 1880, 2 days before a full moon, John Boyce took his own life by cutting his throat with a razor blade. He was found face down in the bushes near the lighthouse. The police investigation was quick. As they stated, this was undoubtedly suicide. One of the local butchers mentioned to the police that he had been in earlier that week and had been particularly interested in the jugular region of animals. The head keeper of the lighthouse, Captain Davidson, had said that night he refused to eat his dinner and had walked off to the north end of the island, but he didn't think much of it, as John's mood was always this way before a full moon. It's hard to imagine the isolation and loneliness of being a lighthouse keeper on a small, dangerous island. Unfortunately, it proved to be too much for John Boyce. Today, the lighthouse on Pilot Island sits abandoned and derelict. No visitors or tourists are allowed at any time. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the content, please like the video and consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell so you don't miss future uploads. And I hope to see you in the next one.